The Sciforror Film Podcast. Hello, welcome to the Sciforror Film Podcast. I'm me, he's him, and she is Amy.
Hi.
Amy is joining us, as we said she would be, for this Halloween special. I suppose we should really actually have backgrounds to match Halloween, really, not just picture frames. But hey,
I don't know, I think we're scary enough.
I've got a hat to dress up with, but that's about it.
Everybody needs a hat.
I don't know where my mask is gone.
You're wearing it.
I was about to say the same thing.
I'm leaving.
Bad, isn't it?
I'm leaving.
Don't do that. We might miss you. Notice the term might. Anyway,
I would say as well, I do owe you some money. We were taking bets on whether or not you'd make it through the films.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah,
it was fun.
She sat through both of them and was
There you
perfectly
go.
fine.
Both of them back to back, bear in mind.
Wow.
For someone that doesn't like horror movies, just straight, both films.
That's quite impressive. I didn't even do that. Mainly because I didn't have like 3.5 hours to spend. But,
Or 4.5.
4.5, whatever. Right, so let's, yes, this is our Halloween special, and to celebrate Halloween, we have watched two versions of the film Halloween. We watched the original 1978 film by John Carpenter, and the, I've forgotten when it was now. When was it?
2007.
2007 film by Rob Zombie. So, shall we do a quick run through of each one, and then we can do a sort of comparison of what we thought of the pair of them and all that sort of thing?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Right. So the first film is Halloween, of course, from 1978. The screenplay was written by John Carpenter and Deborah Hill. Director and the musical score were done by John Carpenter. Producer was Deborah Hill. Cinematography, Dean Cundy. The cast: Donald Pleasance, Jamie Lee Curtis, PJ Soles, Nancy Loomis. Now, there are other people in it, but they are the main characters.
Yep.
We won't worry about a synopsis. And I will, in advance, say that I think most people who are into horror films will probably have seen both of these, so there may well be spoilers.
Yeah.
It's just the way, if you haven't seen, even if you're into horror films, you haven't seen the John Carpenter one, then you deserve the spoilers.
Yes, absolutely. So now I've got to start off by saying I love this film. It was one of those films that I kind of grew up with. I've seen it about 5 times now, and it still looks as good now as it did the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
So, what do we think?
As we said before on all these, I love Halloween films. It does get a bit to the point where this version of it, where it gets to like sort of 5th and 6th film, I sort of had enough. But the first one, the original one, I really like. Is such a outstanding film for like one of a film of its time then, and the fact that, like we said before, is it still stands up now. It's still a very good film, even with all the advances that have happened in technology with filming, with everything like that. That is a great film with everything that's done. I do love, though, the fact that, as it pointed out to me the other day on a thing that I read on Facebook, and now I can't unsee it, which is the fact that Halloween, as well as this version of Halloween, same as Nightmare on Elm Street, and even the Jason films and stuff like that is the fact that it's got the typical horror blue moon in it,
Yeah.
which lights up everything.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's so amazingly well done, and the fact it still stands up.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, well, it was my first ever time seeing it. I've made it to 26 years old and never seen it. But I really liked it. For someone like, obviously, everyone who listens know I don't do horror. It's not my cup of tea. But watching this, I actually really enjoyed it. Like, when you say films are from like the 70s and 80s, you expect it to be uber cheesy and a bit like, but this film was really surprising. With like in like the first scene where he's like where it's his point of view you're looking through, and then he puts like the mask on and you've got like the point of view where he's wearing the mask. I thought that was wicked for something of that time. That was quite, it was quite an advanced technique of camera work.
Yeah.
But I really like this film. It surprised me. It's like, I wouldn't say it's like a scary horror. It's more like what Scott said. It's more like a psychological, because you're in the mind of the killer and you're like following him around. So I would definitely say anyone that hasn't watched it and is a bit like, I'm not sure, I would give it a go, because I genuinely really like this film.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the thing about this film I love so much is that the atmosphere of the film. It builds up this atmosphere and tension all the way through.
Yeah,
and so well done. And the thing I think that does that for me most is that there are quite long sections of the film where you're not quite sure what's going on. You're seeing it through the eyes of Michael Myers, or you're seeing what's going on, whatever. But there's no music and there's no sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just this kind of eerie silence that you get.
It's either the eerie silence or you can faintly hear. I'll say, I'm the same as you. I've watched this film countless times, and it's only when Amy pointed it out to me when we were watching it, the fact that at certain times, if you listen very carefully, you can actually hear him breathing.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved, is the fact that it was sort of no music, no sound, other than just hearing him breathing on this section. And I think it's just such an amazingly done.
Yeah. Oh no, it's so well made. I mean, John Carpenter is the master of this sort of thing. I mean, there aren't many of his films that I've seen that I don't like. And I think the other thing is the fact that it just kind of works really well as a film. It's got a good pace to it. It doesn't feel like it's rushed, but it also doesn't feel like, you never feel like you're waiting for something to happen.
Yeah.
You kind of always kind of like on the expectancy's there, but you're not sort of going, well, come on, hurry up and do something.
Yeah.
So it's a really well driven film. And there are interesting things about it though that I like, which is the fact that I mean, Donald Pleasence is a classic horror actor. He's been in horror films since like the 1950s, and it's sort of, he's really well versed in playing these sort of roles. But what I liked is the fact that they show you that he's not beyond being a bit odd and a little bit weird himself, because of the fact that when he scares the kids who are outside the Myers house when they're going up there on Halloween night, it's kind of like what he's doing is really kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's a little bit bizarre for somebody who's a psychologist to be doing things like that.
Yeah, to sit there and play with the mind like that.
Yeah, I did say at one point when he was walking down the street and he had his hand in his coat pocket with, obviously you could see the gun, and I said it looks quite perverted, because he's in like the big overall, the typical thing. If you think of a pervert, you think of the big jacket, and he's got his hand in his pocket. And after like him scaring the kids in the bush, I was like, is this going to take a turn that I'm not ready for? It's like he was acting very weird down the street, and it's like
yeah.
The thing is that, not just on a professional note as well, the fact that you do have to have some sort of weirdness about you to be a psychologist.
Maybe, yeah.
But the thing is, like you said though, is he fits this role so well. Like, I've seen other things that he's been in, and it doesn't seem the same as what he plays in this, and it just works so well. But I just, don't get me wrong, there's certain bits in this version of Halloween I love. I have to laugh at. There's certain, like the girl's face when she gets strangled and killed in the car, and it's blatantly just sort of faked with her eyes rolled and all that, and I was like, I had to laugh at that.
Yeah, the faces got me. Like when she's in the cupboard as well, when they find the body in the cupboard, the faces did make me chuckle.
Yeah,
because I was like, that's just perfect.
The thing about it is, though, I think it's important to remember, especially for this one, is the fact that almost all of them in this, apart from Donald Pleasance, almost, well, some of the other male actors, but all of the girls, especially, and the young kids, this was the first film they'd ever been in. It's the first film Jamie Lee Curtis ever made.
Yeah, it's just, that's what I was looking at. It's the fact this is the first film she starred in. It was her very first acting gig, really. And to go into, especially to go into a John Carpenter film and a horror film to start it off as a young actor, is just amazingly. And like you said, the other actors, the other younger actors, especially for the young, really younger kids, that are in it, and the fact that the way their emotion and their acting in it, it was so well done. The thing is, like I said, the acting in it is, well, I've watched a lot of older films, but the acting doesn't stand up mad to what he did. Back then, like, it doesn't. It's not as good. But this film, it does. It's almost like you could. There's no sort of no way to tell that it is their first film.
Yeah, I know what you were saying about the horror Blue Moon thing, but what I would say is the fact that, if considering most of the action takes place at night, and a lot of that indoors, one of the things I like about this film, in comparison to a lot of modern horror films, is you can actually see what's happening.
Yeah,
it's so dark you can't see anything.
That's just the thing. As I said to Amy, said to me, she was like, did the whole thing of why don't you turn the lights on? And I was like, because of the fact that obviously it then takes away the thing that you can see what's going on. But then like you said, you get to see with the moonlight actually what it shows. And lights up the house, and it still gives that atmosphere to it of the fact that, like, when you part of it when she walks upstairs and sees the light in the bedroom and it's coming through the door frame. That gives such a great atmosphere feeling.
I mean, I just think it's altogether it is a really good film. There are a couple of bits that maybe, I think if John Carpenter made it nowadays, he might change a few bits. But on the whole, it's just a really good film that it works so well.
This film, I would say, is the fact that it is definitely a way of showing why John Carpenter got the reputation he did.
Oh yeah,
he got the reputation for making these amazing horror films, especially. But he's so easily seen in this film.
Yeah, it is. It's a great film, and you know, I think all of the acting works very well. Even the kids work really well.
Yeah.
And you know, we've said before, sometimes you get some of these short films of him, that kids act amazingly, and I think it's true in this film as well. They're really good at what they do.
Yeah, I just think it's just so.
You do wonder what kind of effect it had on them, but
well, it's the fact that certain actors, obviously, you see that have grown up to do, that have been child actors that have done a lot of horror films, that they go on to do some quite bizarre things in their actual real life.
Yes.
So,
okay, let's move on to the second one.
Yeah.
Halloween, directed by Rob Zombie in 2007. Did you say?
Yeah.
Why didn't I write the date down? I don't know. Anyway, the screenplay was written by Rob Zombie, but it was based on the original screenplay for the original film. Rob Zombie also directed and produced it. All other producers were Malik Akkad and Andy Gould. Cinematography was Phil Parmitt. The music and the score was done by Tyler Bates, but he used the Halloween theme, the Michael Myers theme that John Carpenter originally wrote for the original film. Now, the cast, I've just taken the main actors and actresses here. Malcolm McDowell, Sherry Moon Zombie, Tyler Main, Scout Taylor Compton, Brad Dourif, something like that, Danielle Harris, and William Forsythe. Now, there are other people in it as well. There are other things. The interesting thing for me, as far as the cast is concerned, is the fact that there were people in this film that have been in other horror films and sci-fi films that are classic films. The mum that of the family that his sister goes to, it was Dee Wallace, who plays the mum in E.T. You had oh God, I can't remember the name now. Sid Haig and Bill Moseley, who have been in almost all of Rob Zombie's films. Malcolm McDowell's been in loads of sci-fi and horror things and all that sort of thing. Sherry Boo Zombie obviously has been in all Rob Zombie's films.
Oh,
there are a couple of other people as well, and also a very bizarre, cameo role by Mickey Dolenz, the drummer from the Monkees.
Yeah,
as a gun store owner, which kind of threw me for a moment because I was like, "What?"
Well, it's the thing, like we said, it's the fact like some of the other actors in it's like was it Daryl Sabia, sorry.
Yeah.
He went on to do, obviously he's done Spy Kids, he's done stuff. He was in Machete as well, and he's done loads of stuff. And
well,
and the fact that Danny
Trujillo.
Danny Trujillo, I love that man as an actor.
Oh, he's great. Yeah, he plays one of the guards. The thing.
Yeah.
But so anyway, the film itself.
Yes.
What would you like to say about the film? I'll leave this to you because of the fact that I know this is more your kind of.
Yeah, that's it. Like we said before, whole way up leading to this, I love this version. I've always loved Rob Zombie's films, mainly because I love the man, is his music and his just whole everything he's done.
Right.
I love this version. It's because not only because of the fact that it's the type of film it was and I grew up watching, but the fact that it tells a lot more of the story, a lot more of the sort of psychological side of it.
Yeah.
Like obviously the first one doesn't explain a lot with why Michael ends up the way he does. This one explains, obviously, sort of does it with he comes from a proper broken home. He's being bullied at school. There's so much going wrong in his life, and he just snaps. And I like not like it, but it's the fact that he shows that, and the fact that he shows that as he's doing the counselling, doing the sort of psychological side, you can see the progression get worse by the fact that he feels isolated and he feels sort of betrayed and forgotten and everything like that. And I like that version, and that's the way I've done it because of the fact that it explains a lot more than just he's a killer. It explains it's more the fact that he's there's something seriously wrong with him, and they tried explaining it and tried doing it, but it just sort of it shows that nothing could have been done.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, go on, Emma.
I was going to say, you're the neutral party in this. So.
Yeah.
Well, I've obviously first time seeing this film, and I adore Rob Zombie, I really do, but I've never quite had the courage to watch his films, and it's like this is the first film that he's done that I've watched, and I absolutely love it. Like, it's such a good film. Like Scott was saying, the background information to it just made it feel like in that short hour where he had more of his own story put into it was amazing, because it makes you realise what the not poor guy, but you know what I mean, what like the child went through to like his breaking point, to having to see him get to that point and then him deteriorate. And with like the whole like mental health side of it, he's using his maths to hide behind, and I think it's quite like with the mental health bit of it, it's quite relatable. If you suffer with mental health, you use your coping mechanisms. So watching it from that point of view, you're like, oh, okay, that, you know, you find that sort of coping mechanisms. And it's like when they've got like this one has so much more information, it's like they tell you what happened to the baby sister, you know, that the fact she got taken to a different town and then she come back. It was just like, I literally, my notepad, I've got about 2 pages worth of just notes written down, because there's just like, it's such a good movie. It's like, it's the first horror movie I've watched that has like literally sucked me into it. I didn't want to take my eyes off the screen, because like it's really like eerie, and you just don't want to stop watching in case you miss something. Like one scene where he attacks the adopted dad, I took my eyes off for 1 second, looked back, and then he's like, someone's dead. We were literally like all the way through the movie, me and Scott were doing a kill counter. We were charting how many kills he done, and in this movie we got to about 21, 22 kills.
It's the fact he got to the kill, like the first one he done, in overall there was, I think there was about 4 or 5 people he killed, and within the first half an hour or hour of the film, he'd already gone past that.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think, we worked out to about 20, 21 kills or body count he got up to.
Yeah.
But what I like about it is the fact that, like Amy said, is the fact that it tells the story of Michael a bit more on his sort of deterioration. Like Amy said as well, is the fact that it explains a bit more about what happened to the younger sister, to the reason why he was chasing her and everything like that. What I loved as well was the fact that, obviously, like you said, is the fact that Rob Zombie took some of the screenplay and some of the ideas from the original film, and it's very good to see, like with the name of the club that the mum works at. Obviously, it's the same name of the club that the nurse in the first one has got a matchbox from.
Yeah,
and it's like the odd little connection through it, like the music that's being played, or one of the songs that's being played, and it's one of the same songs that was released in the first one. Yeah. And I just love the little connection between the films of like the same sort. So it obviously ties it all together. I know it's meant to be the same thing, but it's sort of not Rob Zombie running away with it, doing his own version of it.
Yeah,
but making it so he's paying homage to it, really.
Yeah, I really like that as well. It's like, especially watching them back to back, like watching the first one, then watching the second one, and you're like, oh, hang on a minute. It's like the little links. It's not like in your face, but it's like Rob Zombie's paying, like Scott said, homage to like the original cult classic that everyone loved.
Yeah.
But putting like his Rob Zombie twist to it.
I'll tell you, I like the film. It's the first time I've seen it.
Okay.
I like the film. I think it's not a bad film. It's a good film. What I like about it is I like the fact that there are scenes in it. There are connections to it, like that thing, and like the thing that the kids are sitting watching the original version of The Thing.
Yeah,
which is quite cool. There's use of the Halloween theme that John Carpenter created for the first film, where they used the same little musical identity as well, which is really cool. There are certain scenes which are almost identical. There's like the bit where he lifts the guy up against the wall and then puts the knife through him, and he's sort of like pinned to the wall by it. It was really good. It's well made, great film, all that kind of thing. My problem with it is exactly one of the things that you like about it.
What's that?
The background story.
Okay.
The reason I don't like it is because it normalizes it.
Yeah.
I suppose,
It makes it's like sort of, it tells his story of what he was like as a kid, and it normalizes his reaction.
Yeah.
They make Laurie his sister, which she isn't in the first film. And that kind of normalizes her role in the film.
Yeah.
And then the way he's treated by the two guys in the asylum normalize his escape.
Yeah.
So it kind of normalizes the whole situation. Whereas in the first film, the thing for me, that was one of the things that makes it scary, is you don't know why he did it. You don't know why he's latched onto this girl who he seems to be fixated on, as if she's his sister.
Yeah.
You don't know why he escaped that point. Why at that point in particular did he decide to leave the asylum? And that makes it even scarier, because it's like sort of you have no idea what's going on in this guy's mind.
That is a very good point. Thinking back at it now, it takes like the suspense away.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, still love the movie, but looking back at that point now, it dilutes it. You're not on edge as much, because you're like, you know why he's chasing and why he's doing everything he does in the 2 hours he's doing it. Yeah. It's like, you're like, I can understand where you're coming from with that one.
And it kind of, to me, it's scarier for somebody. It's one of the things that has always got me, is the fact that when they, in real life and that sort of thing, if you see a real crime thing, they always look for a reason why this person has become the person they are.
Yeah.
And what's scary to me is when you can't find a reason, when there is nothing at all behind it, they just suddenly decide to start killing people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For no real reason whatsoever. And there's no escalation. It just suddenly happens.
Yeah. I do agree with you, and I thinking about, like you said, thinking about it that way, I do agree with you. It does normalise it.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's the way that it's done is the reason why I like it.
Oh yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I think it is a really well made film, and I think it's a great film of what it is. To me, it's not quite as good as the original because of that. But it's a great film nonetheless. It's the only other thing that to me is a little bit is the fact they made a sequel to it, right?
Yeah.
But the ending of it didn't leave it open for a sequel, whereas in the original one, it was open for a sequel.
See, I was thinking about this because I've seen the sequel to it, and I sort of felt the same way. But then we watched it earlier, and I've realised that it never shows the last shot of it hitting him.
I suppose, yeah.
And the fact that he's grabbing her hand, shaking her hand all over the place, so you never see the connections. You just hears the gunshot and screams.
Yeah, I suppose.
But the thing is, before we carry on doing that, you were saying about the child acting in the first one. Now, in this one, the younger kids that obviously they're babysitting are in it as well, but they're not doing as much. I think the child acting though from I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name because I know I'm going to screw up. But the guy the person that plays the young Michael, yeah, his acting as the child is scary.
Oh yeah, no, he's incredibly good.
And seeing the fact that he went on another film, and all right, I looked him up, and he has gone on and done some stuff in his past, and probably screwed him up a bit with doing this film. But it's the fact that he's acting in it is so well done in it. It's just amazing to me.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's, like I've said and a few others, is very, very, very scary how well he is done.
Yeah.
Now I know Rob Zombie's good at pulling people's best out of them. I've seen a lot of the films he does.
The weird thing for me is the fact that when I first saw him, when you first see him like full body and his hair the way he is, and all that sort of thing, I thought, hang on a minute, this is a young, chubby Rob Zombie.
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing. It's the whole way through it. I would sit in there looking like, because the way that his hair folds out, even at the end, when his hair, and I was sitting there like, he's just him.
Yeah.
The way that his hair is.
You just got a feeling that that's how Rob Zombie was when he was a kid. You know?
I was looking at pictures of Rob Zombie, it's what he looks like now. But
yeah.
It's just the fact that
I was thinking more like Mick from Slipknot. Looking at all the maths and stuff.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw him starting to make the maths, I was like, babe, he looks like he's from Slipknot. Rob Zombie's gone to Corey, like, give me some maths ideas. And that's where all the ideas come from.
It wouldn't surprise me.
No, but it's just the fact of saying it. And the fact that I will say, for obviously Michael Myers is an image that a lot of people know. Like, they know the mask, they know the boiler suit, everything like that. But Tyler Mane, who hasn't done a lot of films, to be able to portray that so well,
Yeah.
and in his own way.
Big old guy, that bloke.
Oh
isn't he?
yeah, Tyler
Oh
Mane
my God.
is massive. He's
One thing we haven't talked about
yes,
is the unnamed character in the first film, who again makes an appearance in the second film, which is of course William Shatner.
yeah.
Now,
Well, trying
for
to
anyone
avoid it.
for anyone that doesn't know, they were looking for a good mask. They wanted a mask that had no overall kind of
Defining features.
That was it. They also wanted one that wasn't putting some kind of expression or other. They wanted something that was kind of expressionless and all that kind of thing. And the special effects guys for John Carpenter found in a shop a copy, like a mask, of William Shatner as Captain Kirk. They cut the eyes slightly wider so that it made it a bit easier for him to see out, and they also they molded the hair slightly differently so that it would look more slicked back.
Yeah,
and then they just painted it white.
Yeah,
but it was ostensibly just a mask of William Shatner.
Yeah.
Oh, see, news to me. I'm learning as I'm going on this.
Do you know what the thing? Do you know what's scary though? It's the fact that if you watch that film now, if you have that and watch that film again, you have that little bit in the back of your head.
Yeah.
It makes it so much more creepy.
Interestingly, the second film, because they couldn't do that because of the fact that there weren't any William Shatner masks around, and that the original mask of long finished, what they did was they got a Michael Myers mask.
Yeah.
From a Halloween sort of hire shop, and then they made it look like it had gone slightly mouldy.
Love it.
But the Michael Myers mask was obviously modelled on the original William Shatner mask, so it's kind of like
it's.
That's so cool. That's such a cool little, like, if you didn't know about it, like I've just learned that. I don't know anything about these films. I'm trying to learn as I go, as we do in the podcast. Knowing that, just the little details, that makes it really cool.
I've always thought it was just so funny that they fact it's like, we want something that's got no real expression and is completely featureless. So we use William Shatner.
William Shatner. I can't look at him the same way now. I'm never going to be able to look at him the same way ever again.
It's just the fact that saying you watch that film back now and you have that little snippet in your head of going, all it needs to be is just like white paint to wash off, and having people run away screaming because they've seen William Shatner just makes it so much funnier.
I mean, as I say, they did cut his eyes out a little bit wider so that the guy could see out of the mask easier. But
and he's got older, that's all it is. Yeah. That's why the Rob Zombie one worked so well, because that's what he looked like now.
Yeah.
a bit wrinklier and a bit mouldier.
But I think the thing about these two films is that they're both really good in their own way.
Yeah.
It's difficult really to compare them, I think, because of the age, because of the time difference. I mean, you're talking sort of like 30 years between the making of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But they both stand up in their own right. And I suppose, everyone's going to have their own preference. Of the two, I think I prefer watching the original one, but the second one I liked as well. I wouldn't say I didn't like it. And I must admit, it's only the second Rob Zombie film I've actually seen.
See, this is things that I've watched. Apart from his new one, I have watched every single one of Rob Zombie's film. I just think it's just so well done.
I've only seen, what's it called?
House of a Thousand Corpses?
Oh, no, it's the third film. Yeah, I've seen House of a Thousand Corpses, and I've seen The Diabolical 3.
Well, you got Free from Hell, you got Devil's Rejects.
Free from Hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the only two films I've seen of his before. And this was, I think this was better than them, to be honest.
Oh, it's the thing that made me laugh is that I had to sort of try and explain is the fact that we were watching the first one and Amy went to me. Sharon Marie Zombie plays Michael's mum in the second one, and her job is she's a stripper.
Yeah.
And Amy went to me, "Oh, I never thought I'd see Rob Zombie portray his wife like this." And I was like, compared to what she's like in his other films, this is quite tame.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, what he's like in Devil's Rejects and Free from Hell and House of a Thousand Corpses. It just again, it just portrays how much of a good actor she is, and the way she is in Salem's Lot as well, Lords of Salem. Sorry,
Yeah,
and it just shows how good of an actor she is.
I just think it's they are if you like, they are the same film, but they are of the time that they were made.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're as good as each other, but they are definitely of their own time. But I still think the interesting thing about it is that unlike a lot of the Halloween films that came afterwards, and unlike the Friday the 13th films, I think, and Nightmare on Elm Street, I think the first Halloween film still stands up today as being a good film. It works really well.
Yeah.
It doesn't look dated. It doesn't look wrong. It doesn't look out of place. It wouldn't be out of place to go and see it in the cinema now.
No.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Because obviously we've done, like, we've spoken about it before, about the whole Nightmare on Elm Street things, and some of the very badly for then it was done well, but nowadays it's very obvious to tell where the CGIs and stuff like, not CGI, where the special effects are, and where they've cut people, but it's not a person, it's a dummy or a doll being pulled through things. But like you said, with this Halloween film, the first one is still very hard to tell. It's very hard to deal with, and the fact that the stuff, like we said before, is the fact that the stuff that would be the horror side of it, it doesn't show. Like, it doesn't show them having their throats cut or anything like that. It leaves it all to the imagination.
One of the other things that got me about this, to be honest, is having watched a lot of horror films from the 70s, late 70s and 80s, one other thing I liked about this was, yes, there is a certain amount of nudity and this kind of thing in it. But one of the things that got me about it was the fact that it wasn't gratuitous, just there for the sake of being there.
Yeah.
It was part of the action. It was not just a matter of like, oh, look, there's a girl, let's make her lose all her clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
like a lot of films that we've watched.
Yeah. I mean, that was a thing in the late 70s and early 80s. It was definitely, they were aiming at a teenage boy market.
Yeah.
And that was what it was about. But what I liked about it is that although it is in this, it's definitely part of the story, part of the action.
Yeah, it's not something that you're being distracted by. It's something that adds to the film, because it's obviously something that they're trying to portray. It's the fact that it's these moments where you're meant to feel safe and vulnerable and when it happens.
And to be honest, the second film does the same. The parts in that where there are, I mean, I'm not sure about the stripping scene and all that kind of thing. I think maybe that was a bit kind of, didn't really need to be.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's an argument that we could have for hours, depending on your point of view. But on the whole, the scenes of nudity in that were the same. They were part of the story. They were part of what was going on with these teenage kids. It wasn't like it was just kind of like, here's a naked woman. It's kind of like the amount of films I've seen where it's like sort of, we've got somebody killing people, we've got so many people. There's a woman with no clothes on. There he's killing more people. And it's like,
well, the thing is, even with other films that we've watched for the podcast, and another film I've watched from that time as well, is the fact that a lot of them, even modern day films as well, when they try doing it, try portraying women, all the women in it, as these like scantily, so they're hardly wearing anything anyway. Yeah. Or if they're like, everything's on show, even when they're clothed. And what I love about both of these films is the fact that they are very modest dressed, they're very covered up. They've done all that. But it's like you said, the fact that when there is nudity in it, it's not in your face. You need to look at this. It's very subtly done. It's very sort of. It's like a couple of times. It's only like partly slipped, or it's a passing as the camera goes, and I think it's just so well done. The fact that, like I said, it doesn't take away from the film. It doesn't it's not in your face and doesn't distract you from what's going on.
No.
Is that it's, like I said, it's meant to be that whole point of you let your guard down, you're vulnerable, you're the sort of taking that sort of that moment to go, I'm okay, I'm relaxed.
Yeah.
And that's when it happens. That's when the killer turns up. That's when the stuff starts happening. You then go and makes you panic even more, because that's that time where you're meant to be safe.
Yeah.
And you're not.
Yes. Well, I think we can agree that they're both good films.
Oh, definitely.
And I think that they're of their own time, maybe, but they're both good in their own ways. They have their own good points. I'm sure that anyone watching them will be able to find at least one or two points about both films that they don't like or that they think don't work or whatever. But hey, you know, there isn't a perfect film out there, I don't think. I don't think it's ever been made.
No.
It is like you said, it's very hard to compare them because they're very different, but in their own ways. It's like you watch the cult classic. It's the one I've always heard everyone speak about and like proper hype up. And for the first time seeing it, I can understand why it's one of like the big horror films, because it is just so good. And then the fact like Rob Zombie was like brave enough to try remake this, because there's so many people that remake movies and you watch it and you're like, just why? What was the point?
Yeah.
But the way he done it, I'm a bit biased anyway. I got a soft spot for Rob Zombie, but the way he done it, I think he done it so well and he done it justice. He didn't ruin it. You know, he had his own quirky twist on it, but he still paid homage to one of the biggest horror movies in like the horror community. Yep. And I think that's just so amazing. If you get the chance to watch them back to back, you will see, you're like, wow, he actually done it justice. He didn't go out there and annoy the whole horror community by ruining one of the biggest films out there.
It's very true.
This is very true. I totally agree with that. It's the fact that, like, you see in horror film remakes and stuff like that, where people have remade it point by point and ruined it.
Yeah.
And what I like about the fact that, like, the remake that Rob Zombie done is the fact that, yeah, he's added bits and he's paid homage to it, but he's made it his own film.
Yeah.
He's done it his way, but he's still paid homage to it. He's still done it that way. Still, because the fact, like he says at the end, it's the fact that he said he's based it all on John Carpenter's film.
Yeah.
But he's made it his own way. And like Amy said, it's the fact that he hasn't taken away from that film. He could have upset so many people with doing it, but the fact that he went, yeah, it's a great film, but I want to make it my way and do it this way, but it's still paying homage to the man.
Yeah, no, it's true. They're both really good films. I enjoyed watching the first one again, and I enjoyed watching the Rob Zombie one, having never seen it before. So I would recommend them to anybody. Go out and watch both of them. Actually, watching them both back to back would be quite interesting. I've never done that, but that would be quite interesting to do.
If I can do it for someone that doesn't like horror, I think you guys are slowly converting me. I now want to watch more and like expand my horizons. It's definitely
it's a matter of choosing the right films to watch.
I think this was like, I would say to anyone listening that isn't a massive horror fan, these two would be actually quite a good level to jump on. Yeah. Because it's not like I don't do jump scares. I can't do movies where you're constantly like getting jumped at, and I can't do it. But these ones, there's some moments where you're a bit on edge and you're waiting for it. Yeah. But it's like, I would recommend to anyone listening, like, these are two good movies to kind of put your toe in the water and go, all right, okay, and then slowly expand out.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So big thumbs up for both of these movies. I'll put the links on that we've got for YouTube, but you can find them all over the place. I mean, at the moment, John Carpenter one is also being shown on, I think it's on Amazon Prime, and
it's also on, actually all of them. I think apart from the newest one, which is Halloween Kills, are actually all on Netflix at the moment as part of their Halloween special that they've got on there.
So give them a watch. Some of the sequels to the first one, avoid.
Avoid it.
But no, I was thinking of Season of the Witch, Halloween That's 3 or 4. I can't remember. The one that's got
S-
absolutely nothing to do with Michael Myers.
I think it might be 3 because you've got Halloween and then Halloween 2. I know Halloween and H2O, which is the 20 years later one.
Yeah.
And then there's one that's got absolutely nothing to do with it, and then it goes back to it.
It's very strange.
It's just like
The new one does look good. I keep seeing the trailer for the new one. I'm actually really intrigued to go watch that.
But again, it just shows the fact that Jamie Lee Curtis is an amazing actress for a start.
Oh yeah.
The fact that she hasn't got to the point where she's had enough of it. But the fact that she's followed this franchise through and she's made it a massive franchise.
Yeah. Yes. And these 2 films are definitely worth watching. So
Yes.
go out and give them a watch. Thank you very much, Scott.
That's okay.
Thank you very much indeed, Amy, for being on here and
Having me.
watching the 2 horror films. We'll be back next week with 3 short sci-fi films again, and all that sort of thing, and edging our way slowly towards the Christmas special. We will be watching 2, I don't know, films.
This is a good point as well. Is I don't think I've actually warned maybe what they are.
Okay.
So I don't know whether or not I should or whether or not we should just leave it.
We're doing a horror and a sci-fi for Christmas.
Okay, that'll be fun.
Full-length feature films again. Shall I tell you what they are?
Yeah, go on, because I don't think it's quite sunk in with me what they are.
Okay, we're doing a horror film which is called Mother Krampus.
Right.
And then we're doing a sci-fi film which is called Santa Claus versus the Martians.
Excellent. That's going to be a fun day.
Yes, that's from 1956, I think it is, something like that.
Okay.
Oh, you didn't tell me that bit. Wow, that's going to be interesting.
There we go. Okay, well, thank you very much for being part of this, you 2 guys. Thank you very much for anyone tuning in, and we will be back in a week or so. Well, no, in a week.
Yeah, I was going to say a week or so.
Or so. Well, the odd day slippage here and there. You never know.
I've realised I've sat the whole way through this with a feather sticking out of my head. Like,
Don't worry about it. I think you're too small for people to be able to see it, really.
You know something?
Not right up close like that, that sort of thing. Okay, anyway, we'll see what sort of virtual background we can try next week.
Yeah.
And we'll take it from there. Thank you very much. We've been the Sci-Fi for
almost got through a whole podcast without mucking up once.
Almost. We have been the Sciforror Film Podcast. Got to get these teeth fixed, and we will be back again. Bye.
Bye.
The Sciforror Film Podcast.